Welcome, everyone, to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Send your questions and comments to DJ at ArtistFirst.com. All past shows are available as podcasts. Visit ArtistFirst.com. And now here they are, some of the wisest people on this network, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Wise asses people on the network. Thank you very much, Scott, for that wonderful introduction. That was very, very conscious of you. And yes, this is the soul of the Everyman, and I am Michael Lyons, and Margaret is one of the wisest people on the network.
Good Lord. All right, are we done with that now?
No, not by any means.
All right.
Yes?
Yes, we're going to be talking about consciousness today.
Wait a minute, you forgot to introduce yourself.
You introduced me.
It was an unconscious introduction.
I see. I am.
Yes?
Consciously. Margaret.
Oh, man. I want to be Margaret. Yes, and you are right. Today's topic is about consciousness, but not just consciousness in the sense of opening your eyes and looking at the ceiling and wondering where the hell you are, which happens to us all. Come on, let's be real.
Ever since you were born.
Ever since you were born, like, where am I?
It's like the first sensation of like, okay, what is going on?
But we're talking about the consciousness, which has kind of pervaded the popular culture and has become sort of a byword, and you can find it on all kinds of self-help and talk shows, and people always kind of pulling out this word consciousness, and they kind of tack on a few different types of adjectives onto it. You hear Christ consciousness and God consciousness and higher consciousness and cosmic consciousness, and at the point you get to be unconscious because you're listening to this over and over again.
Conscious consciousness, and unconscious consciousness,
and unconscious and consciously being conscious, conscientiously being conscious. The word has, through I think overuse, started to become sort of jaded, or not really jaded, but it's become sort of ill-defined anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's come to represent everything from empowerment of self to connection to all, to the becoming one with the universe, whatever that means, and and also sort of these if you will sort of new age or perhaps just more spiritual types of definitions, and where you're trying to open yourself up and become one with the higher conscious, or invite the universe in, as though you had room for the universe. I'm open for the universe, like you've got as much as you can handle right now.
Oh dear.
So there is sort of a lack of understanding of where this idea of sort of a relationship with a universal consciousness, and call it what you will, but it's not in I think if you go back to the kind of the roots of it, we're talking about going back to the roots of Hinduism and some of the roots of Buddhism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been, what's the word? It's been generalized and not really clearly defined. People use it almost like a broad brush.
Mm.
It's consciousness, and then they'll say, well, it has to do with meditation or something along that lines. And you're sitting there going, well, okay, what is your definition of consciousness? never mind the definition of God consciousness or Christ consciousness or higher consciousness, or
Yeah.
it's not truly defined. And if you do trace it back, the higher consciousness in Buddhism and in Hinduism is referring to a term called oversoul, which is you have your own singular soul, and then you're part of a larger grouping, like a soul family. Like your family has got different people, but you're all quite individual.
Mm.
And the oversoul was considered to be an accumulation of different experiences and knowledge and wisdom.
And many lives, too.
Yes. It's an accumulation of lives that come together.
Right.
And that is considered more of a, because there are different gradations. Because we are human, we like to break things up in gradations of things, or like just our schooling system, everything from first grade up to eighth, and then you go into high school, high school,
right,
then
right,
higher learning.
Right.
So the way the human mind just works is likes to break it up in these little packets, if you would, or steps.
Well, and also hierarchy, but yeah.
Yes, in the hierarchy. But when it comes to your higher self, the idea in Hinduism was to tap into that, and it becomes personified in different ways. In Buddhism, they're more along the lines of what they consider a lineage, where the teaching of the teacher is passed on to the student, because they were Buddhist monks and nuns, so their children, so to speak, were their students.
Right.
So literally, it was this passing of wisdom knowledge from teacher to student, and they felt that there was a real transition of information that happened, and once you begin to take that in, you are tapping into that entire lineage, your teacher's teacher, and your teacher's teacher's teacher, and it goes all the way back to the Buddha line.
Right.
So it was almost like for us in the human realm, the natural realm. It's your DNA, your bloodline type. That would be an analogy, a physical analogy to the wisdom knowledge that they're talking about, the different teachings and practices, et cetera, et cetera.
But the idea is you're moving in the Buddhist tradition.
Mm-hmm.
You're moving yourself closer and closer to connection with this wisdom lineage.
Yes.
And in the Hindu, what they're really talking about when moving from God consciousness is through your many, many lives, from the lowest insect to the Brahman. You are
you're evolving.
You're evolving each step by step through the cycle of death and rebirth. Through satsama, whatever things. I forget the name of it now. Anyway, through the samsara. I was so close. Listen here, people. This is difficult stuff. Anyway, through samsara, you are going through this cycle, but you're touching back and forth, and you're coming here, going there, coming here, going there. And the idea is at some point you merge into the all of you selves. That's the higher consciousness.
The way they look at it is that it's like leaves on a tree. Each life is a leaf on a tree, and you are supposed to learn with every life that you have.
Right.
And just like a tree, it has this general widespread boughs, and leaves are everywhere. Your lives are everywhere.
And you could think of it as, the Bodhi tree or something of that nature.
Well, the Bodhi tree is the tree under which.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
different.
Different again. Yes.
Again, but it's these images. These are all images to allow the human consciousness to make connection from its own existence to something greater. And it's usually a baby step out, if you would. It's not a because most people think of, oh, well, then you hit enlightenment and then, you're good.
Right, and you're just like, and then you wake up looking at the ceiling saying, where am I?
And it has nothing. It doesn't go that way, although the lightning bolt of illumination can hit you at any time.
Right, but it's not like a fifth of bourbon.
That's right. So this is a progression, and in terms of what they call consciousness or Buddhic consciousness.
Buddhic or Vedic, but see, so I believe that those root terms have been sort of, I won't say hijacked. They really haven't been hijacked, but they've been kind of nebulized. They've been kind of turned into this sort of nebulous connecting to your higher self, or they even expound beyond that and say you become one with the universe, and I think that's a bridge too far when you're really talking about what both Buddhism and Hinduism are looking to do. They're really trying to connect you up to you, connect you to the higher you. But it doesn't presuppose that you are connecting to is somehow the universe. The you part is Y-O-U, not big U. Okay. And all of the both Buddhic and Hindu traditions look at many different lives in a universe of experience which is shared. You aren't progressing to the point where now you are everything. You are still a higher you. You're becoming enlightened to the fact that you are eternal. You individually are eternal. Connection to spirit. But it doesn't say, and this is where the problem comes in, is that in doing this, you become this nebulous, all-universal thing. You lose your identity and meld into the nothing.
Yeah. No, that was, there's a story, a very old story, in Hindu tradition, where there was a student who suddenly, his mind became opened, and he's like, I am all. I am the tree. My body and I'm walking on this road, and he sees this elephant coming towards him on the road. And I am part of the nature of that elephant. The elephant is God, and I am God, and we're all one. And the elephant is coming towards him. He's like, well, if I and the elephant are one, then nothing is going to harm me. He is God, I am God, we are all God. And then he gets thrown off the side. The elephant picks him up and just to the side.
Right.
And so he went back to the teacher and said, well, if the elephant is God and I am God and we are one, why?
Right.
And his teacher looked at him and said, didn't you hear the voice of God calling to you from the back of the elephant to get out of the way? Because the rider on the elephant is also God. So why didn't you listen to the voice of God?
Exactly.
That's a very old.
and it in a humorous way, Also recapitulates the wonderful story where the guy is hanging off the cliff by the tree branch, and he's praying for a miracle. God, please come and save me. And somebody throws a rope. Says, no, God's going to save me. Somebody comes over with a helicopter. No, God's going to save me. So 5 or 6 things happen. He says, no, I'm waiting for God to save me. And eventually he loses his grip, falls to his death, and he goes and comes into the presence of his God and says, God, I called and you didn't come, and now I don't understand why. I believed you. I was your best believer. I believe that you were going to save me. And God says, I sent a guy with a rope. I sent a helicopter. I sent this. I sent that. I sent so the idea of all of it being if you go into this thing where all things are manifestation of God, it really becomes the reality we're in, and the person that you are is already connected to the. See, people say, I'm going to invite in the universe. It's already in you.
You're there.
As most universe as you can hold is in you right now. You can't invite in any more universe because you're, that's it. This is you. You're in the universe. So this is it's a sophistry to say, well, I'm going to invite in the universe and become one with all, because that's not.
Doesn't work that way.
Well, not only that, but that's not where these traditions come from.
No, and these are things that these older traditions, and these are thousands of years old,
yes,
have been dealing with from the very beginning.
Yes.
And why it was necessary to study underneath a master of those traditions, because they see the pitfalls.
Exactly.
There are many pitfalls that the human mind will present, and they are familiar to anyone who's walked down those paths.
And I think, this is where the people are, in essence, this repackaging and this kind of Madison Avenue enlightenment that's been pushed out there.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
But it's what it is.
Commercialized.
It's a commercialized enlightenment. Take these enlightenment pills and wear these enlightenment underwear, and you will be enlightened. And so
my!
You've got your enlightenment pills, you've got your enlightenment underwear on, you're ready to go. But you don't understand that it takes a great deal of dedication, training, and you don't find the guru of the moment, and you can name a million of them with their best-selling book of the moment and the enlightenment underwear, and say, I'm ready to go, because that reconnection of you to self is a personal journey that you don't find on the back of the flyleaf of the bestest enlightenment book for $12.95, and through a master's appreciation of the wisdom that has been handed down through the thousands of years, they can understand that your journey and the guy or woman next to you's journey are going to be completely different. There isn't this one size fits all, Ronco-matic enlightenment machine. It's like, right. Put in your dime and you get your enlightenment. No, so this has been unfortunately really used as a vehicle to enlighten your wallet from your money. Yes, it's enlightenment. You're enlightening yourself by giving me $12.95. And it's not sad, because there are many people who probably get a lot of benefit from it, but it doesn't do justice to either tradition, to either the Buddhic or Vedic traditions, and nor does it gives this sort of, they also kind of throw this sort of pseudo-Christian or pseudo-Christ consciousness stuff on top of it as well, remember we had our show, I'm spiritual but not religious. They're capturing this kind of Christian light, Buddhist light, Hindu light, and plus add in a little, diet whatever, and some ketogenic vegan stuff, and all of a sudden you're
and a cleanse.
And a cleanse, and $29.95, and you're on your way to being enlightened even further. Just give me more of your money, and it's become. That's what I mean. We started us off with. It's become very commercialized and very, midday talk shows and, buy my T-shirt and wear my enlightenment underwear, and
I'm
it's
part
not.
of a group, and so we are the group that is the now. We are the way you're supposed to go and show that you're spiritual, but
Yeah.
not religious.
Yes.
And it's not the level of commitment that is needed to transform a consciousness.
Your consciousness.
hmm You would have to really be in that ready state.
Yeah.
You basically have to let go of all of it, all the old things that you were hanging on to. And it's interesting because there's a number of people I know of that use meditation and its techniques of meditation just not to feel. They just want an off switch. They turn it into a not feel, but they're not taking steps towards disciplining the consciousness to a higher vantage point or a broader vantage point. It's just stop. I don't want to feel it. It's like you could take a pill and do that.
Well, yes, and meditation is another great vehicle that you can use, and it's a wonderful thing to still the mind. It's a wonderful thing to take yourself out of the rat race every day, run, do, and just be. That's what meditation is very good for. But it is you get as much out of it as you put into it. Like, amazingly, lots of things. If you want to use meditation as just a way to, I don't know, lower your blood pressure,
Right.
you can do that. You can meditate, and you will notice that you will lower your blood pressure. And you can meditate, and you can notice that you will, find yourself more relaxed and calmer, and so on. But the vehicle, or the practice, the discipline of meditation is also very useful to move yourself, as either the Vedic or the Buddhic tradition goes, closer to this realization, this higher self, this way of transforming your relationship with the higher self of you, the eternal you, and transforming your relationship with everyone else's eternal you. In essence, well, you begin to realize that we are all here. We are all eternal. We all have an eternal part of us, and that no one. The idea of using it for, let's say, power it becomes obviously transparently silly, because in essence, there is no way that your maximum amount of connection to your higher self is in any way better or higher or greater or more powerful than any other individual's same connection to their higher self. So the idea that you'll somehow become a superior being is only in relationship to the current being that you are. You are now
superior to where you were.
You're superior to your previously less enlightened self. But it has no relationship to your superiority to any other being on the planet or in the universe that you're inviting in. And I think that's another thing, Margaret, that's been used. This has been used as a way to say you will empower yourself and you will become greater than all those around you and able to, influence. It's like this win friends and influence people using our 17 techniques or whatever it is. It's this idea of not just becoming one in relationship with your higher self, but becoming something that can control the universe, so that can influence the universe. And again, it's this idea of, you want to influence the universe. Well, get up out of your chair and go walk down the street and do something. You're influencing the universe.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be handed, the keys to the universe on a silver platter, which you then can go out and show everybody. Look what I've got. You must obey.
I'm one with the universe, and I don't hear the sound of God telling me to get out of the way.
Right, and what you miss is that the keys that you're getting is the keys to being the best you, the best being you that you can be. Finding the key, the universe that you're unlocking is the mysterious universe within you, within the fact that you find yourself, let's say, angry or frustrated or not fulfilled. You can unlock those things through this meditation, through this discipline, and find the fact that what's harming you is sometimes coming from within you.
Well, it's it's beginning to become acquainted with how your own consciousness works, whether or not you are actually identifying with what you're feeling or with what you're seeing, because that is usually the very first step for a small child. Whatever it is they see or feel, they have an instantaneous response because they identify with what they're hearing and seeing and feeling.
Right.
So this is the first step of realizing that you as an individual are separate from what you're hearing and feeling and seeing. You are the perspective of my eyes seeing this, my ears hearing this, my skin touching this.
Right.
That is the very first step in consciousness. Or actually, now you should think of it, it's the very first step is separating from mother, but that's a whole nother.
Well, I mean, we've talked several times about NDEs, near-death experiences, and one of the things that's part of that is the life review. Well, when you're in that state of connecting to your higher self, your higher consciousness, your best self, your eternal self, you really reach a state of constant life review. You get a different perspective. You get the perspective of the eternal you on you.
On your soul.
On your soul. And yes, from that perspective, you will gain a certain you'll gain a certain measure of wisdom, which then can say, well, your situation, another situation, is similar to mine, and this is what helped me, and maybe you can lead others to this same relationship with their eternal selves through example, through teaching. This is where the wisdom of the sage that you're connecting up with is exactly, your enlightenment can guide others to their enlightenment, but you're not leading a movement. You're not the cult. Even the Buddha himself said, I really don't want to do this, guy. I'm not trying to lead you anywhere. If you want to follow me and follow my example, I guess I can't stop you.
Right. Right. But that's the truth. Most get turned into a religion.
Yes.
Jesus wasn't trying to form a new religion.
He was trying. Words right out of my mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, he was trying to bring people back home towards their true self and God is your Father.
Yes.
He is your Father. That was a whole revelation, especially for that particular.
Right. He's not. And he's eternal, or the God who we anthropomorphize as he or she or whomever is eternal, and you are eternal, but your eternal self is still not God. It is your relationship to spirit in your eternal self that you're trying to relate to.
And it's a an assumption that, again, oh, well, it's a very broad brush again. It's like, okay, I have that God spark in me, so I'm God.
And what we're going to do is go back to the mothership and reconnect. And then when we come back, we're going to talk more about our connection to the eternal.
Rick Riordan fans, love mythology with plenty of action and humor? Destroyer's Blood is for you. The new fantasy novel by award-winning author Michael Lynes is book 1 of the adventures of Devkalion, the Blood series. Follow Dev and his magic sword Betrayer as they are suddenly attacked and forced to return to Olympus to fight in a war they want no part in. The world of men and gods is about to be destroyed by Zeus's ancient foe, and only Dev and Trey can stop him. The conflict never stops, and the amazing twist will have you on the edge of your seat. Act now while the ebook is on sale for only 99 cents. Destroyer's Blood is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. And while you're there, get the free prequel, It's in the Blood, available for a limited time.
The Timeless Esoterica radio program with Dr. Bruce is broadcast on the fourth Monday of every month at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on ArtistFirst.com. We explore topics including the paranormal, alien life, mysteries, conspiracies, hidden history, oddities, and much more. Each show will feature a special guest with exciting and thought-provoking discussion. Always keep an open mind, an open heart, live forever, and remember Dr. Bruce believes in you.
The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed is the latest book from Michael Lynes, the award-winning author of There is a Reaper. Featuring 13 original stories, this wide-ranging collection has everything. Forbidden love, gods versus demigods, weird invading aliens, sexy seductive artificial intelligence, and unusual passion between the living and the dead. All set amidst fantastic worlds of pain and loss and boundless joy. From the sublime to the macabre to the bittersweet, The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed will leave you breathless with laughter, brimming with tears, trembling with suspense. Available now on Amazon.com, Google Play, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere.
Hi, this is Minette Lauren, author of Race for the Sun. Do you believe in guardian angels? Check out book 1 of my Soul Watcher series. It can be found on Amazon.com or anywhere fine books are sold. Go to www.minettelauren.com, and you are listening to the ArtistFirst Radio Network.
There is a Reaper is the story of 5-year-old Christopher Aaron and his life-changing struggle with leukemia. Winner of both the Indy Bragg Medallion as well as the reader's favorite silver medal for memoir, There is a Reaper has more than 100 Amazon book reviews and a 5-star rating. It has been described as life-changing, spiritual, a must-read. Just released on Audible and iTunes, this memoir is also available in paperback and on Amazon Kindle for only 99 cents. Get your copy of this life-changing memoir today.
Listening to the Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past shows are available as podcasts. You can find them at ArtistFirst.com. Making you wiser on every show. Here they are, Michael and Margaret Lynes.
This is getting embarrassing. Yes, welcome to the second half of the Soul of Everyman, where we are making you wiser with every show. And
yeah.
only $9.95. No, we you can send us money. That's okay. This show, though, has been about consciousness in the sense that, in the sense of the way it's being kind of diluted and bantered about and turned into sort of a buzzword, in the current zeitgeist of our times. And we talked a little bit about the roots of these sort of expanding consciousness concepts, the Vedic and the Buddhic traditions, and then one that we also mentioned was the idea of the Christ consciousness. And what we were going right at the end of the last half hour is that most of these enlightened philosophies and ways of living were not initially by the folks who were the unique individuals who were able to reach and preach these states were not necessarily meant to be religions. Now, there is nothing wrong with a religion. Religion is a wonderful thing, and it's done many good things in the world, and there are many different religions, and you're welcome, and I encourage you to have and believe in one. But the goal of even I would say every religion is the betterment of you and your relationship to the higher, to spirit, to the eternal, to God, and the betterment of you and your relationship to your fellow human beings on the planet. You're being given a way of living which will both increase the effectiveness of your soul's development in this life. And some religions are talking about your soul's development through many, many lives. But even if you just talk about this one life, it will allow you to better express your love and receive love from those around you, from those that you are only connected to through your common humanity. It's one of our themes, connected via our common humanity. And to the extent that you look at each individual religion, forget all the things that we as human beings do with our religions to make them into, power and make them into lording over and all those things. But if you look at the actual precepts, there are many commonalities in all of them, and a lot of them have to do with loving your fellow man. What is the greatest commandment? Love your Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself. That's love you and love those around you. And everything else pretty much flows from that. Mm-hmm. Now, is it an ideal that we struggle with? Yeah. We don't get it right most of the time. But the individuals, these incredibly unique individuals who are able to live that life more perfectly than most, are among our greatest examples of what it is to be truly human. And you can find them in the lives of the saints, and the lives of the Vedic saints, and the lives of great humanitarians and folks who are just examples of how to live a good life. And the ones that pale in comparison to the millions that you don't know.
Right.
Who are living those saintly or godly lives in complete anonymity.
Right. Truth. Usually it's that is the baseline of it, because their focus has to do with expressing that unconditional love within them. They don't need an audience. They're doing it because that their heart is participating in that moment of expressing the unconditional love.
Exactly.
And you are completely engaged in that. You're not looking for cameras. You're not looking for notoriety of any kind. You do it because your heart tells you that in this moment there is a gap that you can fill. That gap has no light, so you're being asked to put some light there. And as a human being, that is the overall focus of our heart. What is it that our heart wishes to embrace and express. And that is the hardest task that we have down here, to love unconditionally, because we are so completely opinionated about everything, that you find that the battle begins with yourself.
And if you look at the core of all these philosophies, it's the struggle of self against self. It's, express it as our lighter nature versus our darker nature, but it really is just our nature. And trying to focus ourselves on the heart energy and not the power energy. We're trying to focus ourselves on the heart consciousness versus the mind consciousness or the body consciousness. I mean, the idea of all of these things, of reconnecting to your greater self, reconnecting to spirit, finding the eternal in you, and then you can stay there, but if you bring it here, it's the relationship between, again, eternal and the ephemeral, between the ephemeral part of you through the eternal to the eternal part of another, to the ephemeral part of the other, and the expression of humanity, of the love, of the connection.
And to see, you are here to experience what it means to be a spirit in a human body.
Yes.
So what is this? What does it produce? Usually a soul.
Yeah.
Soul is your conglomerate of all your interactions that you've had as a spirit in a human body. And your relationships, how you feel, how you think, how you responded, that is all encapsulated in your soul expression, as well as your will and how you chose to respond.
Exactly. Very importantly.
Yes, you can't underestimate the power of your own will in this human existence. And that freedom is something that is very, very precious to a human being. And we've talked about this before.
But it bears repeating. I mean, actually what you said is quite profound. The will is, and the choices are essential to any path where you're trying to realize your connection to spirit, because those choices, in a world where it was just you and nobody else but you, as perfect as that might be, would require zero choices. You would have one choice, to live or to die, perhaps by your own hand, but that would be it. You only have you have no other relationship to worry about. And there's nothing else you can do or affect that has any consequence. It's you and you alone, the unitary you.
And the interesting thing is, most people can't even bear to think of it being by themselves in their own universe. That just is horrific to them. They're like bored, or I don't know what I'm going to do, or et cetera. It's like, what do you mean?
Well, once you postulate, though, that there aren't just you are not alone. There are others who have equal right to exist and be in your universe, and it becomes a shared universe with two. Then you have the operation of will. What do I do in relationship to the other? To love, to harm, to whatever. This is where I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, just the will is the choice.
Choice.
You make the choice. What happens is you have your viewpoint and you have the other's viewpoint. So what is your choice?
Right.
Where are you making your choice from?
Right.
Do you even know?
And then the consciousness of the accumulation of these choices through your life in relationship to spirit and to the spirit of the other, which is just as valid and just as eternal as yours, it becomes let's call it a story. The prosecution of your existence through the living of your life through relationship to spirit and relationship to the other becomes either an expression of the choice to love or the choice to not, the choice to help or the choice to harm. And to the extent that you harm not only the other, but you harm yourself. Your relationship to your eternal is defined in your relationship to the other's eternal. Your relationship to the ephemeral is defined and modified by your relationship to the other's eternal. The heart consciousness is a way of not only recognizing your relationship to your eternal, but your relationship to the other's eternal and the choices that you make.
Yes, this is what the soul experiences in this place and in this time, and this time stream.
Yes.
Okay, these are the weavings and the experiences that you gain, and every experience is stored away somewhere.
Yes.
Just like the internet is eternal.
The internet, yes, and we should just call it internet consciousness.
Oh God, that would be. Oh.
I'm inviting in the universe or the internet. That sounds terrible.
It's just no.
No.
You're talking about absolute randomness at this point.
Well, the internet to the side. The unfortunate thing about many of these, Buy Enlightenment for $9.95 books, they are inviting in chaotic experience and things that it's not discipline. It's this sort of nebulous.
Well, it's taking another hit. You're getting high off of something again instead of being a part of a conscious experience and acknowledging where it is. You're like hopping on
the happy pill train, basically.
Well, no, on a roller coaster and just getting strapped in to get the thrill.
Or the thrill.
Okay, because it's just another high.
Right.
I mean, when we had the rock and mineral store, we had lots of people come in and they just wanted to get a hit off the crystals.
Yes, and the experience of happiness is something we all desire. We want to be happy, but there is also a give and take. In the heart consciousness, the heart is not always indulged. It sometimes has to indulge. It has to provide someone else's happiness. It can't always say, you must satisfy all my desires and I have to do nothing. I can consume. It's truly a relationship of equals. It's truly a balanced relationship of energy trading back and forth. And your relationship to spirit is the same. You have a relationship to your own eternal self, which is not always pushing everything up to the eternal, nor is it always taking everything down from the eternal. It's a true relationship of realizing both the perspective of the eternal and the perspective of the ephemeral. You're in the interface, as you mentioned, where spirit has become in the temporal existence. You go from the eternal to the temporal. And then you have this relationship of yourself in the temporal to others in the temporal. You have a development, a progression from one state to another. And, we talk about people being old souls and having, coming into existence even when they're extremely young with more experience, it seems, than they should be naturally possessing, because there is an eternal part of us which is able to bring that experience down and able to use it in a particular incarnation, and then feed that back up. There's this relationship of experience, and as you said, it's stored somewhere. It's like in the internet. It's there to be able to be reconnected to.
Your spirit is eternal and unchanging, but your soul is the manifestation of your spirit experience down here in a physical form.
And a collection of those experiences, too.
Yes, it is a crystallization. Your entire life is a crystallization of your soul.
Mm.
And that soul gets uploaded to a very large database.
Yes, you can think of it that way.
You know, but that is part of what it is that is the experience down here. Because everyone, whenever you're speaking to people, and granted, we do not want to have bad experiences. We understand that. But life happens.
Yes.
And can you consciously walk through those experiences, those darker times? Or were you just letting it fly? In other words, you were so... what's the word I'm looking for? Overwhelmed that you blanked out completely? Or, you decided that you were going to try to control it, and so you started making all these little structures to, let's try this, and if this doesn't work, then we'll spin it and we'll try it this way, or look at it from the top or the bottom or the side, or, it's like trying to control. Were you a control fiend?
Interestingly, just to digress for 1 second, a lot of the way that these ideas of being one with Christ consciousness, for argument's sake, are kind of described to people, or how they entice people, is that you will be able to control the existence that you're in, and nothing bad will happen to you to the extent that you're connected to your Christ consciousness.
Yes.
And then all negativity can be pushed away. Life can be controlled. All things that are
only positivity.
Exactly.
And that's I'm going to be in my Christ consciousness and only positivity. And you're sitting
that's the appeal, right? Because again, nobody wants the negative.
Right. But the truth of the matter is that to try to maintain that, it just means that if something happens on the outside, then you're falling into a pit again. It's all from the outside. It's not a contact with that eternal piece of your soul that understands that your heart connection that never changes is the thing that keeps you afloat.
The center.
Regardless of what it may appear on the outside.
Right.
And the peace that surpasses all understanding is real, but it's not going to be found, how do I say this, so easily by saying, okay, I'm going to sit in meditation and sit in Christ consciousness, and all the outside things, they're not going to affect me.
Or nothing negative,
it's just not going to affect me. It's that the young acolyte watching the elephant and the elephant rider coming at him and going, we're all part of the universe and nothing can really hurt me. Meanwhile, the voice of God is yelling, get out of the way.
Right. Because again, the connection through this idea of Christ consciousness, it's a very egocentric, non-connected way of, in essence, trying to control
the universe. You're isolating yourself.
Right. You're not connecting to anything.
You're not really connecting. They say, well, Christ consciousness is within. It's a state of consciousness. It's like greater than anything that you can conceive of. It means that you gotta take a step towards unconditional love. And unconditional love is a concept that your mind cannot hold.
Right. It's not mental.
It is not. But if you think you can hold it, unconditional love, by doing what? If this person does this to me, then I'm going to, I'm going to just like turned away, and where's my oils? I'll just put some oil on this.
Well, but it's the thinking. When you say you think you can think about unconditional love, you've already put it in a box within which unconditional love cannot be held, because you can't think about it. Thinking positive thoughts is still so much smaller, so infinitesimally small compared to unconditional love, which is inconceivable. So you mentioned it before, the peace at the center of the storm has nothing to do with thinking positive thoughts.
Right.
At all.
Not at all.
It has to do with the heart's knowing connection that you are eternal, regardless of what is happening in the ephemeral, regardless of what is happening in the universe that you're inviting in, which is a bad idea. It is not the where these things, all these 995 to enlightenment things fall down, is they are all in the mental realm. They are all 7 steps to enlightenment. They're all, this is the recipe, here's the stuff you do, here's the oils you rub on, whatever the formula is. It's a formula which you can think of, you can write it down on a piece of paper. By definition, it is not the way. No. The way is indescribable. You know, we use the term the way. It's used in Buddhism, the way. But you know, the original name for Christianity, it was the way. That was it. In fact, the way has been used in so many different traditions, those words, because it's like I am who am. It's something that is trying to describe. It's a word that's trying to describe something which is sort of indescribable and undefinable. It's just, what is it? It's just the way, you know, the thing we do.
Right.
Because it isn't, you can't, you know, when you ask for the rules, the enlightened go, oh God, they want the rules. Okay, we'll write down a few things and maybe this will help. Because it's just the way. You know?
Jesus said that they will know that you are my followers if you love one another.
Exactly.
That sets you apart from everyone else, because let's face it, when you look out into the world, people ain't loving on one another.
No. Well, the general, the default is, you know, the default state of people is not loving. It's mental. It's contentious. It's control. It's power over, power under. It's conflict, and all those things are not the way. And anything which comes from them, the troubles which come from those things, fail to pierce the peace. If you're at that center point, if you're at the heart, connect with the heart consciousness, which is undefinable. It's outside of them all. We put it in the core, but it really is outside of all. You can't even put a handle on it. You say it's at my center, but your center, interestingly enough, is also the center of the universe. Ooh. Because everywhere you are, in an undefined state like the universe, is the center of the universe. We're going to blow your mind a little bit at the end of the show. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about this one another time too. But yes, we're all sitting on the lotus blossom at the center of the universe in the undefinable heart consciousness peace, which has nothing to do with the 995 enlightenment or the controlling the universe or positive thoughts or crystals or any of that stuff. That's all fun and games and nice, but it's not the way.
Well, it's the Buddhists looked at it in terms of giving the mental aspect of yourself something to do.
Exactly.
While you do the work.
Exactly.
Of transforming your consciousness, because the mental likes to step in and take charge.
Yes.
The ego likes to use that mental part of you as a tool to take charge. I'm in the center. Don't you forget it.
Right.
And every time you try to move away from that, it wants to drag you back to, no, from my viewpoint, it's got to be me. I. And again, you get tossed aside by the elephant.
Right. And what is meditation but just giving that eye something to do?
It's just giving. It's giving.
You play in the corner and count our breaths. The rest of us are going to do something. Don't worry, I'll be fine.
But seriously, if you read any of the masters, that is the idea, is to quiet the mind. And the Western mind is so engaged in thinking and being in charge that they found it very distracting, difficult. So, are we? Oh.
We're distracting and we're difficult, and we've reached the end of this incredibly wise, what did Scott say?
Whatever.
Anyway, I'm Michael Lyons.
And I'm Margaret, and thank you for listening.